Good morning. This is Pat Brainard with the Forward Three Lakes team, and I'm here with Tara Stevens, a realtor in Three Lakes, and she's going to give us some information on the housing and real estate market in Three Lakes. Tara?
Thank you, Pat. Thank you much. Good morning. Again, Tara Stevens. I am a real estate broker in the Three Lakes market. I've been involved with housing and selling for the past 15 years. Also, my background extends to involvement at the township level, being part of the Housing Strategic Plan Committee back in 2010 when we created the strategic plan for our community. Fast forward, still continuing to be part of the conversation with housing as co-chair of a housing task force that has been focusing on learning on how to bring affordable workforce housing to our community so that folks that want to work in our town can live in our town, put kids in our school district, and so have been involved heavily over many, many years on the housing conversation.
Thank you. And we'll go to the second question. What kind of buyers are you finding right now, and what is happening in that area as far as availability?
Well, our inventory continues in real estate to be very low and demand is huge. Since the seismic change of our world, what we live in right now, there are so many people who have figured out how to work from home, and corporate America has embraced that. So the secondary market up north has tremendously shifted, whereby the demand is just a frenzy, in particular for second homes and homes on waterfront, but also the lack of inventory continues for off-water housing. And that price point, affordable, say a teacher and her husband want to buy, or a policeman and their wife want to buy and live in our community, $250,000 seems to be that comfortable threshold and under. Currently, we have no housing in the price range between $200 to $250 to satisfy that. So they end up buying in communities outside of our area.
With that, I guess my question would be, are they moving everything, their children, everything to the other communities then, even if they're a teacher in Three Lakes? Is that becoming their new home and they just come here to work?
Well, I work with quite a few teachers and other local folks in the community, and so it is a blend. Some who first move up here and find housing elsewhere, their kids end up going in the school district where they live. Others who already have their students in the Three Lakes Sugar Camp School District and buy outside of, some will transport their students because we do have school of choice. But again, that new family moving into the area, wherever they settle down in their roots, that's where their kids go to school. That's where those families shop, regardless if they live in our community. We've lost them for being an integral part of our demographics because they don't live here.
If they did move here and we had the housing available, what do you think are the community things that are what's available in our community? How do you think they look at that? Do we have things? Are we missing things? So that as far as your shopping, if you mix the two together, would they be happy living here because the other communities are close enough if they need to shop for other things? What do you see as a relationship between our business district and our housing?
Sure, that's a great question. I'll give you an example of a recent family I assisted in their purchase of a home right in downtown Three Lakes. They're originally from California and found that for their lifestyle, young children, mom at home quite a bit on her own while dad works away, being in town had great features and positives for them. They could walk to school, walk to the library, walk to shopping, nearby to a beach. Another asset was other young families live in the downtown community as well. So as far as networking and getting to know other people, that seemed to be a real positive. As we found with younger people in interviews and such, travel seems to be more important to many younger folks, and getting out to a place where they can fly out isn't the easiest thing, but it's not anywhere in our area. Finding shopping, yes, we do all need to drive a half an hour or so for many other things. So I think the struggle that I'm hearing in younger families and folks that want to move to our community is they want to see a downtown that looks and feels like it's alive. And with empty storefronts and such, that can be a challenge. But frankly, right now, many storefronts in Rhinelander and Eagle River are also vacant. So we're not unique to that perspective.
So to go further then, now we have this problem. What do you see as changing the availability? Is there a way to do that in town?
So we, as a housing core group in the last few years, have been working on really, researching and learning so much about how to bring housing, how to bring developers, how to look for grant money. And I think the more we've learned, the more complicated we realize this conversation is. Bottom line, I find, in my opinion, is that it is imperative to have all the players be on board and actively involved in the conversation in order to have anything happen. By active players, I mean the township, the town chairman, our plan committee, Chamber of Commerce, our sanitary district director, bankers, developers, builders, anybody else who's in the trades. We need to find ways that we can bring developers to us that it works for their business plan. If a developer were to build nice duplexes or townhomes in our community as rentals and only can rent them out for $850 a month, or they build in Dane County the same product where cost of materials is less and they can rent those out for $1,500 a month, that's the reality. We need to find developers that I think have a heart for our community, as well as can potentially move on grant money or WIDA dollars or other ways in which to make that business model work for them in order to build affordable housing, as well as how we look at zoning. Our community has very little zoning available that is connected to our sanitary district. We're an old downtown built up. We would need to actively pursue owners that have land adjacent to the sanitary district, because tapping into that, speaking with two large developers, say that's imperative. They would not have within the budget to do any master working within the sanitary district area is quite important for part of this conversation of where can we put anything should we have a developer of interest.
And what is that area? What area does the sanitary district include?
Well, we've got mapping for that, and I did pass all of that along to Miles Alexander, and I've got that available for anyone else, where the sanitary district overlays our zoning district in our downtown area. So it's rather limiting within our downtown area, being west of the, let's see where we are, west of the cemetery, over to the downtown, to the industrial park area off Badagowski, to just south of Badagowski and the turn by the baseball fields, including that shoreline of Maple Lake. But again, it's a small footprint. So we have to look at what zoning has for properties that would be adjacent to that would offer at least 2 acres of land for any kind of building that would be multifamily building.
Well, I mean, I really appreciate it. Maybe your conversation with us, probably my final question is, if you had your wish, what would housing look like in maybe 5 years or 10 years?
Well, my housing wish would be to expand development for the variety of housing that would include rentals, whereby apartments or townhomes or duplexes. We continue to have an aging population that when they move off the lake, they have nowhere else to go. So they end up moving out of town and back down state by their families. If they had an interim of a place to live, even seasonally, I think that we could keep some of that population here in our area. But also on the other side of that spectrum is younger families, college graduates, to bring them back into town after they've graduated from school or start a family or find a job. There's nowhere for them to live. So that interim of having good quality rentals is important. Also, single family residential will be a greater challenge because the builders in our Northwoods right now are booking out 2 to 3 years in advance. We're not seeing any spec homes being built. We're not seeing any master plans that I'm aware of for subdivisions of new construction by development, because they're as busy as they can be right now without looking that far ahead. So I would love to see multifamily as well as single family in the next 5 to 10 years that brings a multicultural and multi-generational level to our town so that we can continue to be prosperous and have a community that is moving in a positive direction.
Thank you very much.